All right, welcome everyone. Glad to see almost an entirely full room. My name is Guled Abdullahi. I'm actually one of the chapter organizers here in Atlanta, so we're OWASP. Thank you for being here. What is OWASP? So the Open Worldwide Application Security Projects, or WASP, we're a global nonprofit filled with great chapters all around the world, all these amazing projects, all these amazing tools. We're an organization that's here to make software secure all around the world. So however way we can help you build better software, make it secure, be it if you're just starting out and trying to figure out your requirements, trying to figure out where you can begin, to big enterprises in the 40-50s. We are an organization that does research, we provide tools, and we're here as people to help you build more secure software. So please check out our website, OWASP.org. That's a great place to be able to see any of our projects, from like the top 10s to documentation guides, to tools, anything like that. As a nonprofit, we're vendor neutral. We're here to help you build better software. And because we're a nonprofit, we always need support. So if you can, join us as members, contribute. These sort of chapter meetings are all done, we're all volunteers that do these sort of meetings and do these events, do these sort of projects. So definitely more hands make everything better. So please join us. You can become a member at OWASP.org/membership. As a nonprofit, money is always welcome. That helps fund our projects. So please donate. You can sponsor. Anything like that really helps. We also have all these talks that we do. We do record them, post to our YouTube channel. So either you can visit our chapter page at owasp.org/chapter/Atlanta, or you can go to our YouTube page. And also we have a Slack. Not just like all of our members in our project, but it's open to the entire community. So if you want to get in touch with any of us individually, want to learn more about a project, how you can contribute, anything like that, definitely join our Slack. That's a great way to keep connected to all of us. And also, as a chapter, we highly welcome new ideas, upcoming research, anything that can help the community build better software. We welcome you to contribute talks. So if you're part of a company and you're doing great work, you think that your products are innovative, if you're doing individual research, we definitely welcome those. We provide sponsorship for the individual researchers, so don't worry about any need to bring funds if you have to. But yeah, email us at any time at Atlanta-leaders@owasp.org to connect to any of us if you're interested in doing a talk or a project. Now, before I pivot into our speakers, I'm going to actually welcome Matt. Who's going to do the introduction.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to introduce myself and David real quick. David, if you want to join me. My name is Matt Preby. I'm the regional account manager here in the Southeast for Corellium. Has anyone ever heard of Corellium or our Viper platform? You have?
Just a minute ago.
Awesome. All right, cool. We're going to change that today. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm local. I live OTP in Cumming. David is down in the Miami area. If anyone's interested in what to hear about today, feel free to come talk to me afterwards. Let's you know, yes. So I don't know. Did you want to do it? Want to read through that slide, or should I? Pull that up again. I want to introduce Brian Robison, who is our chief evangelist here at Corellium. He's going to be talking about the malice of mobile malware.
All right. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you.
It seems kind of odd, the camera mounts around like that, huh? Seems just gotta catch over here and anyway. Hopefully this doesn't make people on the phone sick. All right. Bear with me a second here, I'm sorry. All right, so. Yes, I'm Brian Robison. I am Chief Evangelist at Corellium. I also head up all of our product strategy as VP of Product Market Management as well. So just a quick little blurb about me. I've been in security, compliance, intrusion detection, vulnerability management, all that kind of fun stuff for a little over 25 years. I've been with a lot of the companies you might know, Tripwire, McAfee, Citrix, Good Technology, Cylance, BlackBerry, all that kind of fun stuff. So I've been doing these kind of things for quite some time. And I thought today we would just kind of come out and talk through a couple of examples of some mobile malware and play with some stuff. Show you some interesting things that can happen behind the scenes with some of these things. And like almost every time that I play with these things, I find something completely different. So, you know, one of the dangers of playing with live malware is who knows what's going to happen today. So we'll just, you know, grin and bear it, and hopefully we made enough sacrifices to demo gods today to see if we can get some stuff done. All right, so let's see here. Let's turn on the screen sharing for our friends online. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. It's great to see everybody. So I just wanted to talk just for a few moments about the world of mobile malware. As I said, I cut my teeth a lot of it in the x86 malware, reverse engineering, playing with stuff, reversing attacks and recreating them, and teaching people through like hacking exposed books and things like that how to recreate and generate these attacks in their environment to better test your infrastructure. And when I came over to Corellium, one of the fun things I was able to get into, which was difficult in the physical world, is mobile malware. It's difficult to have a desk full of physical phones, and it's difficult to maintain and manage all that kind of fun stuff. So playing with it in a different kind of a virtualized world allows you to have a little bit more fun and dig into things, and you're not doing anything damaging except for burning a few electrons here and there. So I'm going to go through, and we're actually going to look at and run live some malware today in the room. And we're going to look at some of the things that they're doing and why they're doing it, and different advantages that this stuff is taking on the mobile OS. As you all probably know, mobile OSs are, quote, more secure than desktop OS, because you don't really get access to the kernel like you do in the x86. You have to go through sandboxing and all those other kind of things. So it's a little more difficult to build malware in the mobile world that actually does things, especially outside of its own sandbox. However, through the wonderful world of social engineering, we don't have to trick the software, we can trick the human into letting us outside the sandbox. So I'll show you a couple different varying techniques on that. So the number one vector used in mobile malware is fake apps. Fake drivers, game enhancers, cheat code tools, video drivers, all these kind of fun things that are out there in the world of apps that we think we need, but we actually don't need. A couple of other ways, obviously, of attacking mobile devices are things like phishing and smishing and all these other kind of fun things that are happening now. And the goal there is not to compromise the software or the device, but to compromise you as the user, fake you into entering your credentials on a site, and then all of a sudden your organization gets owned because you revealed your credentials. Now, interestingly, this can move into malware, where a sample of malware may, let's say, try to fake 400 banks. It has the ability to decide, oh, I see you have the JP Morgan app on your device. Let me fake a JP Morgan login and expose your credentials that way. So there's some interesting things that are happening. Now, it's becoming rarer, but there are people who essentially are out there doing research and developing zero-day exploits against operating systems and against applications and things like that. And that's one of the things, like, we work with OWASP organizationally very closely, because we work with the people who are helping to write the guides of how to write the software better, how to test it better, how to test it faster, and those kind of things like that. So we're working with Sven and Carlos and a whole bunch of these other folks that are actually creating this stuff for OWASP. All right. So spyware disguised as legitimate apps. Now, one of the most common tools or goodies that you're going to find, especially on the Android world, for example, is a sample of spyware or adware, essentially, that is embedded into a legitimate sounding application. And these are, we're not talking like hundreds, we're talking thousands of applications a year installed on millions and millions of devices per year. So we're not talking a small little amount, we're talking a pretty good chunk of the apps that are on the app stores today, right now, that are completely malicious intent. Fake utilities are very common. So things like photo tools, photo editors, movie makers, like I said before, video enhancement players. You know, oh, you need this app to play this special video or something like that, or to play this game faster, or there's a cheat code in here or whatever. And of course, compromised games is the number one as well, very highly suspicious area, especially in the x86 world, but also in the Android world and iOS world, are popular games that have been compromised or hosted, and you download them and yeah, you get to play the game, but you're also signing up for all kinds of ad services and things like that in the background. So let's take a look at our first fun little example. Has anybody heard of Cam Scanner? Yeah, okay. This is an oldie. This is like, I don't know. I have kids that are younger than this. I like this example because this was one of the very first examples of a legitimate business application that was sitting on Google Play and Cam Scanner. So what it is a take a photo of a receipt, scans it into like a black and white PDF, so you can submit it for expense reports or make photocopies or whatever. It's a legitimate business use app. It was installed over 100 million times on the out of Google Play on devices, and even some devices in China actually shipped with it by default as a default utility app on the device. Now, the fun thing happened is that this was legitimate up until one very specific version of the application. And in that specific version of the application, the authors embedded a third-party library, an advertising library that happened to be a malicious advertising library. They said, oh, I want to generate some ad revenue, but the company that they went to basically gave them malware, and they distributed this over 100 million times out of Google Play. And what this adware did was, behind the scenes, it started just browsing and clicking on things without you being able to see what's happening. So one of the things I like about this software is that it's still a legitimate app. It's still out there. And if you try to install it and run it on an Android device today, this version, this very specific version that I have, it'll tell you that, oh, you have a bad version. You really need to update this very, very quickly. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to highlight how with malware, we want to be able to examine communication, the C2 channels, right? What this app is sending out, what it's bringing back in. And on a mobile device, that can be somewhat difficult to do. You perhaps are using tools like Burp Suite or Man in the Middle Proxy or something like that, where you're installing CAs on the devices, or you're having them join private Wi-Fi networks that have compromised CAs that you can deploy, and you can do some of these things. But I'll just flip over and show you something pretty cool. This is our Corellium platform, and we're not here today to talk about that, but you're going to see me use some of the tools as I run some of these virtual devices. So these are virtual devices that are actually running as virtual machines on an ARM server. They are not physical devices in the cloud somewhere. They're not emulated. They're not those kind of things. So these are true VMs. Now, this Android device, I have the Cam Scanner app installed. And one of the things that I can do is I can monitor the networking going to and from that application. So if I launch Cam Scanner, this does happen to be the bad version of Cam Scanner, by the way. If anybody wants it, I'll be happy to share the hash file with you, or give you a USB full of fun things if you need that. Oops. So basically, you launch this application and it starts into its web-based communication. Now, as you can see here, it is communicating a lot of information to different sites, Facebook and all these other weird-looking things, Google and app measures and all this other kind of fun stuff. And some of the things that we get to see with this little tool are things like decrypted internet traffic. And it says here, there's a dialog box that says that there's a new version of this app available because the version you have has a fraudulent advertising code in it. So I haven't even gotten to the app yet where the place in the app where that actual like dialog box has popped up yet. But yet it's been sent to the application already, including other things like if I look at some of these other files, I can see it sent me some pictures, it sent me some other information that is coming through that is embedded in the app for some reason. But if I continue to go through this, at some point, I should get that dialog box, wouldn't you think? Click on the use now. Oh, there it is. So now after it's sending all of this data, doing all this other stuff, uploading, downloading all this data, then it warns me that the version I'm using is actually the malicious version. So when we are testing and playing with malware, and even legitimate applications, let's say we're penetration testing our mobile apps that our company builds or something like that, being able to capture that network traffic in the background and have it fully decrypted is very, very powerful, because I can see these applications communicating before even things happening on the screen come up. So that's Cam Scanner. It's a quick little example, an awful lot of fun to play with, because it really doesn't do a whole lot except for eat your battery. It's gonna, start clicking on ads and things. Now, later versions of Cam Scanner, oddly enough, they fixed the malicious library for advertising, but there was another version of Cam Scanner that came out a little bit later that actually downloaded malicious payloads. So it downloaded other applications. So this one has been used many times to attempt to reinfect people with a couple of different use cases. All right, so that's a quick example of a legitimate app kind of acting as a good application, if you will. All right, how many people in here have heard of ransomware? Anybody? All right. So ransomware, very, very, very busy, very big market on the desktop side. Right? At Cylance, we were one of the #1 companies out there taking out ransomware. We had an AI engine that would do 99.9% effectiveness against never before seen binaries. Take them out. It's still a problem, right? I was doing these road shows back at Cylance back in 2016, 17, 18. Our marketing team came to me and said, nobody wants to hear about ransomware anymore. It's done, it's solved. It's going to be, what's the next day? Cryptojacking or whatever, No, ransomware is still the biggest problem in the world. So ransomware on mobile devices is a little different, again, because these applications have to run within the protection mechanisms of the operating system. So they have to run within their walled garden. However, we've begun to see, again, using social engineering, I can trick you, the human, into giving me access outside your sandbox or outside my sandbox, and now I can get access to other files on the device. So a lot of the early ransomware on mobile devices was a lot of fake extortion. It popped up the FBI screen and said, hey, we scanned your device, we found a bunch of porn, and you gotta pay us a bunch of money. But it didn't do anything. Until we saw Black Rose Lucy come out. Now, Black Rose Lucy has been out for a long time. It's also resurged. It is actually an active security malware as a service, a MAS, that is out there still today, active. So the sample that I'm using is a year old, but this is kind of fun because this is where these applications start to trick the user into giving them more permissions than what they're supposed to have. And they do it in a very interesting way. So let's go through, I'll give you some stats about Black Rose Lucy. So this was first started in around 2018, really active in the early 2020, 2021 timeframe. Researched back in 2023. And like all malware on Android, this is something interesting to pay attention to. It begins to leverage the accessibility services of the device to give control and to gain control outside of the sandbox. So be very, very careful when applications ask for permission. Okay, so Black Rose Lucy. This one I actually enjoy. So let's do a couple of different things. Okay, I've got another Android device here. And this one actually has, doesn't actually have Lucy installed yet. So we're actually going to go through and install Lucy. But what it does have is I need to have some cannon fodder for Lucy to attack. Right? So I've got in my SD card, I've got a stupid little graphic here, right? Always have to inoculate your computers. Make sure everybody's good. And then the other thing I have here is I have a text file that is essentially just some cannon fodder. So this, this is just some files I have sitting on the SD card of this device. Now I can also view them over here. I can download the JPEG, or if it's a text file, for example, I can view it directly in line right here. I can see this. Now I'm going to leave this view open over here when we come back to it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install Lucy. Come here, Lucy. All right. Lucy is now installed. So Lucy, this version of Lucy was out in the social media circles and basically tried to convince people that you needed this video library. This was advertised as a much enhanced video library for Android that allowed videos to play smoother, better, whatever they tried to use as their social engineering. So if you look down here at the very, very bottom left of this device, there's this app called Video Player. So again, this one was out there for a while. It's in the social media circles. Download it, install it. So
they didn't even bother with the icon. It could have just stole some resources from somewhere. Come on.
Exactly. Could have cut and paste. Okay. So the first thing it does is it says, hey, you need to activate this SVO. Okay. So now here it's happening pretty fast. Where'd that app go? I don't know if you noticed that or not, but it's no longer on the home screen. But the icon or the app still popped up. So after it launches, it put itself in memory and then deleted its own APK off of the box. So it says, hey, if you want to watch this video on your phone, you have to enable the streaming video optimization service. Okay. This is what your kids are doing while they borrow your phone. So, okay, so here's your list of services. Here's your streaming video optimization. Now, I know the text is a little bit small on the screen. Let me see if I can. Not too bad. Let's see, hang on a second. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. All right, so if you just read this, Android optimization must be enabled for play video in your phone. If you just start reading some of this stuff, you'll very, very quickly realize that this is not legit, probably. And if you look at the bottom, some of the additional benefits include, and then it just disappears.
But
So.
it'll give me more Robux.
Absolutely, well, it's gonna help you, right? Given the vastly improved scrutiny around security. So they just cut and pasted some text in here, enough to, what is the most common button clicked on a computer or phone these days? Next, finish, right? All they had to do here is try to put enough information in to just give you the feeling of being something legitimate. Okay, so we're gonna turn on this service. Now, Android asks you or tells you this app was going to request some special permissions. Does anybody see any special permissions? No? Okay, there's a reason I'm running this on Android 9, because they actually took advantage of an issue with Android 9 where they could put white space. So if you scroll down, now you can see what it actually does require. So thank you, Google, and this is, the model of let's pass the buck for the security to the end user and let them take the blame when they end up compromising their device. You have to be smart enough to scroll down past the white space. So, okay, let's just be the dumb user that I am. Oh, cool, it doesn't need anything else, I better just hit okay. Now I'm gonna walk away. Now watch what this thing starts to do. It is legitimately giving itself permissions to everything on your device using accessibility. Screen read controls, file access, full control over your device. And of course, hey, you get the infamous FBI pop-up that says that, hey, your device has been scanned and you've got some forbidden sites that are on your phone, and you need to go to, I think, like Circle K or maybe 7-Eleven, and you need to go buy a $500 one vanilla gift card, and you need to send them the information from this, and they will release these prohibited things on your phone. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but over here on the left-hand side, these files have actually had extension change. They are now these .boot files. Interestingly enough, I can no longer view the contents of this text file because it's actually a binary file. So if I download it, and I try to open this bugger, let's try to open it in, I don't know, let's get it in Visual Studio. Yeah. Come on. Oh, but anyway, all right. Visual Studio is not gonna let me do it. Text edit will let me do it. That's what that text file now looks like. So not only did this thing actually just change the extension, it actually encrypted these files. So this is actually not just doing fake extortion and trying to get you to pay the $500 fine. It actually did some damage and actually encrypted the files in your photo library and your SD card and everything else that you got access to. So
On the shared folder.
what's that?
We can't access any of the other apps, right?
It can if the accessibility
knows
table
what it
options do, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. And I should have been running a network scanner in the background because it's also trying to communicate and send keys up to the C2 and a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, that is Black Rose Lucy, and this one is still actually active out there. It is a malware as a service on the dark web. You can get current versions of Lucy to easily send out to your victims, / customers. So yay, Black Rose. She's kind of fun. All right, we'll recycle that one. All right. So let's move forward into malware apps that start playing and toying with mobile banking apps. This is where things get fun. So what you saw with Black Rose Lucy was a little bit of an indication of, could we throw a screen overlay up that basically you've got to like reboot your device to get rid of? Could we do some things with some interesting out of my sandbox controls by utilizing some of the accessibility types of things? Now we start getting into actually doing things like, oh, I see you have another app on your phone. I happen to have a fake login for that. Can I throw that up instead and trick you into entering your credentials? Essentially key logging. Can I take remote control over your device? Can I do other things that are even more interesting as part of my malicious attack? So the next thing I would like to introduce you to is something called SOVA. SOVA is actively being developed. The version that was out at the end of 2023 and early 2024 was V5. V6 is out there now, and it's still under active development today. And it is, again, designed to disguise itself as legitimate software to trick you into opening it. It's going to use social engineering techniques to trick you into giving it more rights. And then it does some interesting other things that it does to attempt to evade user prevention. So things like you can't uninstall it. If you try to uninstall it, it will basically click faster than you can on the cancel button. It does some very interesting things. And so this is, like I said, this is within the last, started within the last 4 years. It's been out there. It's in live development right now. It uses common icons from Amazon and Chrome and other apps, TikTok and other things to do some fun things. It can obtain screenshots from your device on a scheduled basis. It can record sensitive information using accessibility services, perform gestures, steal Google services, Gmail, GPay, Google Password Manager. It can sit inside, and now they have added a ransomware component to it as well. So if they're not getting enough information from you, they're just going to go ahead and kind of take out your files and the device that you have. So SOVA. SOVA is an interesting creature. Wrong screen, apologize. All right, SOVA. So like the other apps, SOVA is going to, oh, did I? Hope I didn't do that. I may have. I think I may have actually done that.
Well, all this stuff, even the stuff today still runs on accessibility, like there's not really any way around it, unless you drop some kind of ODay and then it only lasts a few days anyway.
Yeah. Yep, so I believe I accidentally killed the version of this that actually had the app on it. I do apologize, and I don't have a local copy of it anymore on here. Yeah, I must have done that. So we're gonna jump ahead and look at a newer version of SOVA called Xenomorph, essentially. So basically, I can walk you kind of through what SOVA does. So SOVA looks like Chrome, the one that I have access Chrome. You fire it up and it says, hey, you need to install Google Chrome services or whatever in the background, and that's how it essentially gets itself into accessibility services. And one of the things that it does is if you try to, you realize, okay, this is not an app I want on my phone, you long press on the icon and you bring up the menu that says you can uninstall or kill it. And it immediately, once it sees that, it dismisses that window faster than you can click on it. So it actually kind of like can't get rid of itself very quickly. So let me take you through to the next one.
Which, depending on the security of your phone, we can't even kill it in debug mode.
Correct.
Because they deploy it locked down.
So let's talk about Xenomorph. So I believe I have a demo of Xeno. But what this is kind of a culmination of like all the different things that we've seen thus far. And then now using the accessibility services. And so this is 23, 24 type malware. This can now actually do essentially what's called an automated transfer system, where it can complete fraudulent banking activities without human interaction. So it can literally do, if you have the banking app on the device, and this emulates up to 400, let me double check my numbers, this is up to more than 400 banks and financial institutions, including crypto wallets and other things like that, that it will actually bind itself to in a way that it can take it over with accessibility services and completely start, authenticate through a multi-factor, and approve a funds transfer without human interaction at over 400 different banking institutions, targeted United States, Asia, South America, fun things.
With the same 4 APIs across all of them. 'Cause there's
Pretty
so
much, they all pretty much rely on the same kind of thing. So, so this one is one of these very fun ones because this one kind of combines a whole bunch of different things together. So I don't have the app installed on this device right now. So what we do, I do have this one. So CoinCalc is a legitimate app on the App Store. It was out there. This is how Xenomorph was essentially released. They put a legitimate crypto coin calculator out on the App Store, and when this thing launches, it then goes and downloads the malicious payload. And this is still active, so you're going to see this actually work. So let's install CoinCalc. Okay, so there's CoinCalc. Now, a couple of things that I can do. I want to attach a whole bunch of fun stuff. So I'm going to attach a syscall tracer to that application when it launches. I'm going to monitor its network. And then we'll go ahead and execute. Now, you can see it begins to communicate right away. And then what's going to happen is it's going to download a payload. And it's going to say, hey, you need to install this plugin app. Okay? Confirm the install. For security, you must, give this permissions to install this unknown app from another source. Well, you would think, okay, well, this has its own library, so it's going to continue doing this until I stop. So this is using another app to install an app. And you're going to give your device permission to do this. And what is it trying to install? It's trying to install Google Play Protect. But this is actually not the real Google Play Protect. This is a Trojan version of Google Play Protect. So, but again, it's designed to make you think you're installing the real Play Protect. Then you launch it, and it starts talking. And then it's going to say, you need to enable Play Protect. So of course you're going to enable it. And you're going to give it everything it needs because it's Google Play Protect. Why not? Then your device is going to go out of your control for a little while as it actually goes and downloads and grabs very, very fun things. So some of the fun things that it's trying to do in the background, grabbing binary data and all this other kind of stuff. Going to work. There we go. It's trying to figure out. Normally what it does is it's going to hit a couple of different sites to see where we are in the world. It's going to ask ip-api.com or whatever like that, like who we are, where we're coming from. Maybe it's stalled. Oh, no, here we go. So interesting like data blobs being sent to odd sites around the world. So this one, it's actually trying to open, you can see it's trying to open Telegram if you have it installed, trying to emulate Telegram Messenger. It's trying to do all kinds of fun things in the background. All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta clear the cache, like kill the app, kill the APK and clear the cache and relaunch it.
Yeah.
That seems to help.
Like I said, sometimes these fun things can do weird, behave perfectly fine 1 minute and not the next.
That's software.
Yeah.
That's definitions.
This one I had earlier was actually releasing, so there's actually embedded URLs in this. And I was picking them up with CoreTrace earlier. I don't think we have in log file right now.
Oh, it's locked. It's or restarted itself and now it's not smart enough to reboot itself.
Yep. Well, that's a bummer. I had, this one was, oh, what do we got? Oh, we got normal trace logs anyway. I don't think we're gonna find anything in this big mess of log. But when we're examining malware, we wanna basically look at, we can, trace core messages coming to and from different applications. We can grab everything going in and out of memory, watching all the apps that are launching. We can do fun things like take, the hex code from here, for example, and drop it over into CyberChef and decode it. Maybe we see something, sometimes maybe we don't. Just depends on what we're looking at different times. But we can definitely, this one, I apologize, it's not operating correctly right now, but there were a couple of sites that it tried, it didn't connect because it knew that it was connecting from the US. And so it basically stopped. But once CoreTrace basically grabbed some clear text URLs, I looked them up on VirusTotal, and they're obviously malicious URLs, known bad sites and things like that. It was very easy to see, this is definitely not a very good application in the world. So that pretty much, I do apologize for that demo not kind of working, but that one is an interesting one because again, like I said, it emulates over 400 different banks and crypto wallet and things like that, and then it can initiate auto fund transfers. If you want to read about this one, it's a fantastic one to read about. So obviously, we want to talk about how do we protect ourselves, how do we protect our organizations, things like that. One of the best things I like to talk about is education and simulation. So play with this stuff, try it, have fun with it, learn about it, learn why it's doing things so that we can better teach others around us. Like, really look at that message and really think about why you're giving that app access to your accessibility services. Something bad is most likely going to happen if you do that. Look at robust security solutions, network protection, all that kind of fun stuff. And then every, decent business needs to obviously have a decent incident response plan and partners that are ready to go and things like that if something does happen. But the great thing is, at least so far, the world of mobile malware is pretty, it doesn't spread really easily. So it's nice in that way. It's hard enough to get, to other pieces of the device outside your sandbox, let alone to the network and things like that. So we aren't looking at anything yet. We haven't seen anything yet that's like rampant worming from devices and things like that. So that's a good thing for us in our organizations. We don't have to be as stringent there. But there are solutions like, different MDM vendors can essentially attempt to stop you from running applications. The one thing about MDM, if people are using it, you should realize that it can't actually stop the user from doing anything because it's on only the after the fact. Again, MDM has to sit in its own sandbox as well. So it can only identify behavior. It's not designed to prevent. So if you're looking at prevention, if you're going to do Android, you have to look at something like Samsung Knox, which basically has their own access to the kernel. And in Samsung Knox, you actually can stop the user from installing something that potentially could be bad. So that's a much better solution. Other solutions that would be better as well are application protection solutions that sit within the applications themselves, extra encryption, things like that, that sit outside of the device's responsibility. So they're not affected by some of the limitations that you might allow these apps to have access to. So that's really all I have for today. I wish we had a little bit more fun with some of this mobile malware, but some of them didn't work, and I apologize for that. But I guess it might be a different time in the world today than it was earlier when I let it run. So thank you very much for having us out. Appreciate it. Like I said, we work with OWASP at the global level pretty constantly because we are essentially in the mobile application and security testing space. People use our platform to conduct research. People use our platform to do mobile malware research, threat research. We even have organizations who work to develop zero-day for weaponized exploitation using our platform. Good guys, not bad guys. So that's us and that's me, and I thank you guys for your time and appreciate it.
Q&A?
Whatever you guys want, yeah.
Of two related questions. What's the split that you're seeing between Android and iOS in terms of App Store, malicious things getting in?
So the bigger target for malware is Android. The bigger target for scary as hell malware is iOS. Because if you really want to compromise a high-level executive in an agency, organization, or a business, they're going to probably be running an iOS device. So that's where you see really kind of spooky stuff like Pegasus and things like that. On the Android side, it's probably a little bit more comical and gimmicky, but it's also easier to trick kids into installing video libraries and things like that that can literally compromise your stuff. When you get into stuff like Xenomorph, you start getting into stuff that's really kind of not necessarily broadly deployed, but very targeted at basically their goal is to steal money from your accounts. So we see that a lot. When we start talking about things like that would apply to OWASP, like code hygiene and engineering quality, vulnerabilities, exploitation, it's kind of equal. You see a lot of people taking a lot of shortcuts on iOS and leaving things like AWS keys completely unobfuscated, unencrypted, where now I can access your S3 backend and now I have your company. So it's just as common on iOS to have a bad, poorly engineered app as it is on Android.
Does Corellium have data on, I guess, those statistics of, hey, we're obviously, you guys are probably doing some research on mobile apps and seeing what the malware is. Is there any change that you've seen with the EU sideloading with iOS, with them allowing that or trying to push that? Is there anything you're seeing from a intelligence perspective there? So
2 points. One, at Corellium, no, we actually don't do the research. We build the platform for researchers to do the work. So we don't do a lot of our own investigative research. From the folks that I know and who are in this space, I haven't heard of a huge amount of uptick in it yet. But it's just as easy for me to put a malicious app on the App Store as it is to put it in a side-loaded store. If I want exposure, I will go directly to the main stores. So again, you have to remember the app stores are there not to keep us safe. They talk about it and they talk about it all the time. And a good friend of mine, Eugene Liederman, who runs the Google, Play Protect stuff, For Google, the app stores are there to get the app to you, not to keep you safe and to basically make money off of getting the apps to you. That's their business model. So the safety is an afterthought. If you look at every one of these reports that come out about mobile malware, it's all, yeah, we found, 1,800 apps on the iOS store that leaked AWS creds, and we found all this other kind of stuff. It shouldn't have been there in the first place had those apps actually been examined for security type of stuff.
Isn't there checks though, when they go through that, before it goes on the Play Store? Like run through the application? Yeah.
There's,
But they're not gonna protect your crappy code for your company.
Okay, but
It's more for like their IP and their, like, oh no, we don't want to be people like hijacking the Play Store app or something. They're just like, oh, that's locked down.
Cause I know like on iOS, they're a stickler for if you have transaction in the app versus setting it to a website, they.
correct. And so
For
the,
things
like,
like that.
I can't say names, but the research group that I know at a very large company that starts with the letter M, they are only really concerned with illegal uses of their APIs. So they're scanning applications all over the world to figure out if somebody is illegally using their APIs. But they couldn't care about the quality of the stores, essentially. Any other questions? Yeah,
Hey, Brian, it's Ralph on the virtually. Hey, really great presentation. Thank you very much. Hey, Brian, how effective is like a factory reset on your phone if like you get like malware or spyware? Is that very effective, or are there things now that can just persist?
I haven't seen anything yet that persists. The good thing is like a factory reset does a pretty darn good job of going right back to, ROM code. So I haven't seen anything yet that can park itself resident outside or compromised, parts of the OS at that level. And we do see that in the, x86 Wintel side a bit, something you can hide itself in the BIOS and reinstall upon, reboot, things like that. But haven't seen too much of that in the mobile world.
Okay, thank you.
Seen, evidence or chatter around AI enhancing.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, just as a quick example, I mean, you could tell an AI engine to go build you some ransomware that's undetectable by AV, and it uses the same kind of techniques that I used to teach in Hacking Exposed at Cylance in the day, and obfuscates the malware, encrypts it, and packs it into a packer and makes a brand new one, all automated for you. It's like 10 seconds and you got an undetectable binary. So we're seeing it being used that way. We're also seeing it being used to generate unique types of environments. And especially when you start getting into like application fuzzing, AI is going to help a lot when you start getting into fuzzing and you start when they say throw 20,000 entries against an API in 1 second kind of thing. Let the AI engine handle that and detect which ones gave you some sort of weird result you want to look back at. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Based on your research, have you seen some sort of malware that not only does automated stuff like run down a few tasks and exfiltrate or get data, but active attackers doing something against your phone?
Yeah, so that's the xenomorph stuff can do that. It does have a completely remote accessible Trojan. It has a rat in it that, if they decide to, can come in and basically monitor and keylog all kind of at the same time. It's kind of the culmination of a lot of years of development and research and trickery, and thank you, Android, for building all these new functions into the accessibility stuff to make it more accessible to the people who need it, but can also trick users who don't need it into giving too much access to everything on the device, including stream, remote control, remote help, all that kind of stuff. Any other questions?
Question on the platform itself.
Okay.
I heard that you guys emulate or virtual machine iOS. Is there any difference between the Android and the iOS in terms of what telemetry you can kind of extract out of the system?
So the first part of your question, yes. Predominantly, our platform is built to virtualize iOS all the way up to the latest and greatest 18.2, 18.3 betas, and also jailbroken. So we do provide jailbroken access to iPhone 16s running 18.2. That's probably what our customers purchase us for, because that doesn't exist in the physical world.
Yes.
You can't get it. So if you are in the application testing space and you need to guarantee to your organization that you can validate that the engineer wrote the code properly and is not storing sensitive data in clear text, you have to have a jailbroken iPhone to do that. You have to break out of Apple's walled garden to validate that data. If you can't validate that data with a non-jailbroken device, you are putting blinders on and saying, well, we hope Apple's doing its job, and we hope the engineer did its job, but you can't validate it.
It's good when, Apple tries to sue your company.
Yes, so.
Your product's so good. Your product's so good, Apple sues you for it.
I normally introduce myself as I'm from Corellium, the company that gets sued by Apple but knows how to win. Because it's not illegal, because they don't like what we do, it doesn't make it illegal. So in fact, we don't modify any of Apple's code to do our jailbreaks. So we don't actually require an exploit or anything like that. We reverse engineered how Apple boots the device, and we inject our magic at boot time, and we actually know more about how Apple's devices boot now than they do. So that's why we can even do 18.3 beta jailbroken.
So in the process of your development, all these sort of things, do you deal with any sort of like virtualized sandbox disassembly of mobile application binaries or anything like that? What would that look like?
Yes. So, I didn't come here to pitch you on product, but we have a lot of so you saw some of the tooling that we have. So back to your question, we have the same tooling on the iOS side: network intercept, core tracing, file system access, sideload apps, all that kind of fun stuff. But we also have a new automation suite, which is essentially designed around the OWASP mobile security testing guide. So we automate as much of the testing as possible. So basically you hit a couple of buttons, 10 minutes later, a report pops out of your application, both static and dynamic analysis while you run through use cases. We're capturing all that information and looking for sensitive issues. So that's kind of a new capability from us, but we can do that for both iOS and Android. Any other questions?
Kind of want to hear more about, because your company just sounds so cool. Good job. I just want to hear more about the company.
About the company?
Yes.
Well, let's see. I've been there 2.5 years. We were started. Our founders came out of the jailbreaking community. So they basically wanted a faster way to develop and test jailbreaks. And so the way to do that is to get away from the restriction of a physical device. You get into a virtual device where you can reset a snapshot, reset a snapshot, reset a snapshot, try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. Now you extend that. Okay, so now we have, jailbreak research, but we're, a decade past jailbreak research now. And you move into stuff, the vast majority of our customers are government intelligence agencies and things like that, who are essentially trying to find zero-day exploitable vulnerabilities before our enemies do. So we are used in that world because we give instrumentation to parts of the kernel and down to the hardware, the memory and things like that you cannot get off of a physical device. So these folks literally cannot do that level of work in those agencies without a tool like ours. Even Apple can't do that level of visibility in their own development labs. They can't shim themselves in between the CPU and the memory and the other pieces of hardware like we can. So that is where we have come up until the past couple of years. Now we're starting to see more people wanting to bring security testing back in-house with the development teams, shift it left. Just like functional testing is moving closer to the mobile app development teams, we see people kind of getting fed up with these 1 or 2 times a year type of annual reports when they have their app tested, and they want more real-time testing. So that's kind of where our platform is heading now, especially in the app world, where the whole thing can be driven by CI/CD pipelines, command line, automation, and you can literally get a security test of your application every build, every night, as often as you want.
Do you deal with botnets? So you see a lot of that, like devices being taken over, what's like the solution?
We don't. I wouldn't put it past some of our customers to be developing botnets for mobile devices and app testing. We do see some of our customers build good little botnets internally within their environments, say about firing up 1,000 virtual devices to poke at their APIs and things like that. But in the malicious world, we're not out in that world. And we're legally bound and we're very, very protective of who we sell our platform to, so it doesn't go to bad actors.
Well, unless they take SANS 575 and get access via third party.
If they take Sven's class, they can get through the class using it, but they don't get it afterwards. Yeah. Or if you go and talk to Umit over at Mobile Hacking Labs, and you take his iOS class, they're taught on this platform. We also have a couple of guided scenarios. If you guys are interested in learning more about like how to pen test mobile apps, we have our own vulnerable apps. We call them Corellium Cafe. So we have a little fake coffee shop app that you can go through a guided scenario on our website and play with the app. And it has a number of vulnerabilities that are hard coded into it, and see how many you can find and test yourself and test your teams and grow your skills. And then if you want to move up a level, there is an app exploitation scenario as well. So we have the most sought after targeted apps right now to exploit are messaging apps on iOS especially. So we have a vulnerable messaging app that is out on our website, and it has a number of vulnerabilities that you would have to discover and then go figure out how to exploit. But basically, yes, you could leak, if you properly develop the exploit, you will be able to basically leak information from the device with a zero-click exploit.
You said that's on your website?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I can. So these are, I wrote these up, I call them our guided scenarios. So anybody can get a free trial of our product. You can go get a 14-day free trial of our platform. And then you can run through like a cafe scenario on either iOS or Android or both. And it basically walks you through building devices, setting them up. This is where you can download the app, how to use it, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't tell you how to find the vulnerabilities. That's up to you and your skills to go find the vulnerabilities. There's an answer key hidden behind a password if you get stuck. But we can walk you through pretty much any of that stuff. And then, as I said before, there is the even more fun one, which is the glitch chat scenario. So this is vulnerability research and exploit development focused on iOS applications. And in 2 weeks, I will be hosting a webinar with some friends of ours at TFP Zero Labs, some security researchers, ex-3 and 4-letter agency folks that are out there doing contract work now, talking about some of the latest and coolest methods of iOS application fuzzing and testing and things like that. So how do you trick the application into revealing some of its secrets? Things like that. So if anybody's interested in taking a look at that, but these are fun. They're available. The glitch chat has its own, it has a server. So you can actually have chats between your desktop and the phone, and you can actually put the client on a couple phones and chat between them. It's not anything fancy, it's just basic, but it does work and run, and it does have a couple of intentional vulnerabilities in it that could be exploited if you know how to develop exploits. All right, anything else? All right, well, if you're interested in the platform any further or your company, please reach out to Matt and Kevin and David and the team, and we'll be happy to talk more with you. And I appreciate everybody taking the time and hanging out with us.
Okay. Okay, one last announcement before we close up and head out. The next time we'll be gathering as OWASP Atlanta next month on February 20th, on Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. hybrid. So here at FanDuel and online, we'll be having a talk around AI empowerment and security risks, navigating the AppSec challenges of AI agents. So we'll be having Chris Fago from Identity. They'll be giving a talk all around how do you understand the threats related to AI agents and low-code platforms. So everything relating to those platforms and how to mitigate that. So please join us next month. And yeah, thank you for coming. Please grab food and that's it.
Take